Hi, good morning, guys. So today I want to be able to talk with you a little bit about international dating, maybe even a little bit about the visa process, but especially about the international dating. I can speak to this a little bit just because, my wife Jess and I, we went through the international dating routine ourselves years ago before we got married. And I have some things maybe I can share with that. So some of it will be for the guys, the Kano, the Americans, and some of it will be for the Filipinas that are looking to be able to find somebody. So to begin with, we need to set some expectations. I think that that's probably important. A lot of people that I speak with don't really understand the process, but they also maybe don't even understand who it is that they're looking for, or they're not honest about who it is that they're looking for. A perfect example of that would be sometimes I hear a Filipina talking about, well, I'm going to go on a dating site and I'm going to find myself a Kano, who is a millionaire or billionaire. You're going to go looking for Jeff Bezos on an international dating site. He's not going to be there. I'm just telling you right now, don't bother. He's not going to be there. He doesn't have a need to be on that site looking for women. He's looking for when a guy of that size, when a guy that's wealthy is looking for somebody, then he's looking for somebody that can speak the language. You need to be able to speak billionaire. If you can't speak billionaire, then he's not going to be looking at you. So when he goes looking for somebody to marry, he's looking for somebody who is educated, somebody who is experienced running in those very high level social circles. So if that's you, great. But chances are, if you're on the international dating site, it's probably not. That's okay, because you're not going to find the millionaire and billionaire guys there either. You're going to find guys that are just average income. Some of them are going to be, maybe just fresh out of college. Some of them are going to be in college right now. Maybe they don't even know what they're going to do after they get done with college. Maybe some of them have been working for 20 years, working in a union. You're going to find guys from all kinds of areas, right? But none of them are going to be super wealthy. So that's just not going to happen. So give up on that part. It doesn't mean you can't have a good life. You just need to give up on being an automatic millionaire just because you married a Kano. That's just not a realistic dream. You also need to understand that a lot of the guys that you're likely to find are going to come with baggage. They're going to have had other marriages. They might already have children. And you're going to have to be able to navigate that. The fact that you're not the first, is not, it's not an unusual thing for them, but it might be unusual for you coming from the Philippines, expecting that guy, to be single and to have always been single, just like you are. And it's just not the way it is here. And you're much more likely to find somebody who's been married once or twice, maybe even more, with 2 or 3 kids. They probably don't live with him, but sometimes they do. Maybe they're adult children. It depends on the age of the guy, right? And we get married for the first time typically here a lot earlier than you do. For example, the first time I got married, my first wife, I was 19. And so that's just gives you some idea as to how early we can start here sometimes. I have, I've worked with a lot of teenagers in my life, in my career, and I can tell you that a lot of the teenagers that I worked with, some of whom were 15, 16 years old, already had children, right? So just keep that in mind when you reach out to somebody on the other end, that their life experiences are going to be drastically different perhaps than yours, right? It's not just what food is available, it's not just what shops are available, it's what they themselves have experienced, and pay attention to the way they are. Try to pay attention to the way they carry themselves on the camera. Try to have daily conversations if you can, so you can get to know them, of course. But keep in mind that they're going to have different mannerisms. Does your guy pick his ears all the time when you're on the camera with him? Does that piss you off? Is that annoying to you? It's kadiri? Maybe that's something that you need to either figure out how to deal with, or maybe you need to find somebody else that doesn't do that, right? Maybe you're worried about being ex-wife number 3. That's a totally reasonable explanation, a totally reasonable, request is, how do I know that when I marry you, when I come to the States and marry you, that 6 months later, I won't be the next divorced, right? It's a really good question. Ask your guy, what assurances do I have that 6 months from now, this is still going to work out? And I would suggest to begin having conversations about subjects that are most likely to lead to divorce. What are those? Well, money is number one. Typically, money problems are the number one source of divorce, at least in the US. When you have, unreal or unrealistic expectations, or expectations that don't align with your partner, then you end up having friction. Is he not making enough money for you to get your second Louis Vuitton handbag? Do you need a Louis Vuitton handbag? Does he understand why you need a Louis Vuitton handbag? Probably he doesn't, right? Because he's probably used to just getting you a basic Gucci handbag for $40, and he thinks that that's absolutely fine, and why are you complaining that you didn't get the $1,500 bag? He doesn't understand why that's a thing. Be prepared to explain to him why you need one, or be prepared to give it up, right? So money, you have to be able to come to terms with that. He may not have his own house. He may be renting. He might be living with his parents. Make sure that you ask. Make sure that you ask before you end up living in his parents' basement, right? Make sure you ask. You don't want bad surprises, okay? All right. Number two, religion. What religion are you? What religion is he? Are you Catholic and he's Christian? Are you okay with that? Is he okay with that? Maybe you're Christian. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's like, well, I'm spiritual. What does that mean? Does he know what that means? Is it okay with you? Is it okay with him? If you want to go to church every Sunday and he doesn't, that might be a problem. It's probably a source of friction in the relationship, right? So you want to think about that and talk about that before you decide to try to come to the US on a visa. Let's see, what's next? Politics. Politics right now is huge, at least in this country. Are you liberal? Are you conservative? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Here, it usually matters when we have conversations with other people. It maybe shouldn't matter as much as it does, but it makes a difference. So when you're talking with him, his political interests may not line up with yours. You may not think that that's a problem, but it may be a problem for him because right now in our country, it's a major issue. You may think, I don't care who the president is. It's not about that. What are your views on gays? What are your views on abortion? What are your views on homelessness? What are your views on drug use? What are your views on overcrowded prisons? There's a big long list, right? What are your views on whether or not we should be at war with another country right now, right? Maybe you're not interested in those things. Maybe your guy is, right? Maybe he talks about it every 5 minutes. So if you're not interested, maybe you should also want to check with him and see where he is on that, right? Sex. Sex is a big reason for divorce. His expectations might not line up with your expectations, right? What he wants, how often he wants it, where he wants to be when he gets it, may not be the same as what you're looking for, right? May not be what you were expecting at all. You might think, well, that time is just going to be like, I don't know, maybe once or twice a week in the bedroom with the lights off. And that may not be what he's thinking at all. He may be thinking once or twice a day in every room of the house with the lights on. You get it, right? So his expectations might not match yours. You might want to ask about that before you get too deep into the relationship. How many other girls is he talking to right now while he's talking to you? You're on a dating site. You're not technically dating, but you're on a dating site talking to each other. Does it bother you that he's talking to 6 other women right now? I don't know. Does it bother him that you're talking to 3 other cano right now? I don't know, right? Do you network when you're on this dating site, or do you just stay one at a time? What you do might not be what he does, right? So there are a lot of things to consider. Once you do finally find somebody that you think is okay and you like them and you've had long conversations and you have conversations on a regular basis and his answers to certain important questions don't change, right? You ask him that question again like a week from now and he gives you the same answer and you can rely on it, okay, great. So everything is going well. Okay, well, the next question is, are you ready to move to the next stage and actually get a visa, right? Is he ready for that? Does he have a place for you? Did you discuss that? Where are you going to live? Is it the same place he's living now? Where is that, right? Is that with his parents? Is it with his sister? Is it with his ex-wife because he was never able to move out? Is he living with his kids because his kids are employed but he's not, right? Good questions. So find out where he's living, find out how much he's making so that you know that there's enough room for you. Find out that he has a plan that moves more than 3 months ahead, right? Because when you get to the US, you get 90 days, 90-day fiance, you get 90 days to marry, right? Otherwise you have to go back home and try all over again. So if his plans only include the next 90 days, then you might want him to go back and do some more thinking, right? You need him to be able to come up with a plan for the next maybe 5 to 10 years of what are we going to do with our lives? Are we having kids? How many kids? Where are we going to live? Is this really your career? Or are you going to try to move into something else? Does that mean you have to go back to school? Do I have to be the one that leads the family because you're not organized or because I'm the one that wants to get up and have 2 jobs? Questions, right? So make sure that he's thinking far enough ahead. Make sure he's prepared, not just for himself, but for you and for little ones if you want little ones. And then when that day comes and you're ready to do fiance visa paperwork, then be prepared to pay some fees. The fees have gone up and it's going to take you a little bit of time to go through all of that. We'll probably have another video later with more details, or you can check with other, there are other podcasters out there, there are other videos out there that talk in detail about fiance visa, but make sure you get all of your documentation ready before you begin. It's going to require a number of different documents from you. You're going to need a CNMR, you're going to need your birth certificate, you're going to need a passport. He's going to need a passport. Can he get a passport? He's not a felon, right? Right? Not a criminal record, no felon? Okay, because that might interfere with his ability to get a passport. Okay, so you're going to go through all of those questions and make sure that he makes sense, right? And if you're networking, then you're going to ask the same thing of the other 3 guys that you're talking to at the same time to see which one of them actually is able to, put it together, right? So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. We'll come up with some more pointers and some more ideas. You can ask some questions. So I'll try to read down into the comments. If you've got a question, by the way, drop it. And then do the whole like, subscribe, and stuff like that. You know the drill. Okay? And we'll talk to you later.